So it's only the two of us. So Loic is not with us, so it's Kai and myself. And I'm very sorry that Sophia cannot join us. She had an injury with her leg, and she's actually now under surgery. So if you're listening to this afterwards, Sophia, get healthy soon. But yeah, we both gonna have the pleasure the next 20 minutes talk to you about this very interesting topic. The title is very complex. I didn't choose the topic. So I myself, I'm Alireza. I'm a lawyer, a blockchain lawyer, and I'm in an industry of regulation and crypto for quite some time. 2014, I started with blockchain. 2012 with regulation. And I did the first carbon credit tokenization projects in Germany already 3 years ago. So Good Carbon is one of them in Berlin. I work with Senken, I work with some others, Evercity and Calirios and some more. So I know some insights of how to do a carbon tokenization project, and I'm very happy to talk today to you, Kai, from NRverse. And so I'm not working with NRverse or for NRverse, I'm a lawyer with Annerton, but I know Kai, I know from before, and I know what he is doing, but he's going to tell it to yourself.
Thank you, Alireza. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm very happy to present myself and also NRverse today. Quickly, I'm Kai. I have a background actually in the energy sector. So I worked 10 years for an electricity company. And this is also where my blockchain journey starts. So we basically looked into decentralization and asked ourselves, how can blockchain DLT technology support and foster the decentralization in the energy sector? And we looked into the tokenization of renewable energy certificates and then had the idea to decarbonize Bitcoin. We came into an accelerator program of the Blockchain Founders Group. We founded NRverse. We have now a slightly different focus. We look into events, so we decarbonize events. We do CO2 assessment of metaverse events, so fully virtual events, physical events such as the CAC, which is one of our clients, and also hybrid events. And yeah, today I will talk about ESG. I also didn't choose the title, but it fits quite well. So yeah, let's kick it off.
So yeah, the couple of gentlemen left, so it's their pity, because we're going to do something very interesting. So I'm going to tell you how I usually advise as a lawyer, a startup or company, by listening to the project and then in the end trying to explain if this project is regulated, how it's regulated, maybe it's not regulated. And for that purpose, we have a small presentation which Kai is going to present. I'm going to ask some tricky questions in between and to see if all of you are listening still. And then in the end, if you have some time, I'm going to do my evaluation and give you some feedback on how this project would kick off. So Kai, please go on.
So it's basically a free consultation service from your side. So that's very much appreciated. Cool, so let's start. I have a small agenda. So we start with ESG. What is ESG? What has blockchain to do with it? How can blockchain support? We then look into what are we actually doing. So we have a very practical approach towards decarbonization, and we have clients that are not necessarily only in the Web3 space. And I will show you what we basically do. I talk about the underlying Web3 technology, how we basically enable traceability, which is a word that is used often for blockchains, but what do you actually need to really create traceability and transparency and trust? I have some examples how our end product looks, and of course also the team. So I'll start with what is actually, where do I have to point this? ESG. So ESG stands for Environmental, Social and Governance, and it's basically an evaluation framework for companies that investors use to assess the performance of a company on these three criteria. So on the environmental side, which is what we will focus on today, you have basically climate impact. So how are emissions recorded and tracked? How are they reduced? How are they compensated? So it's really the impact on climate change. We have also the other two categories. So social, we talk about labor standards, we talk about human rights, we talk about board diversity. And in governance, it's basically the structures that a company has put in place in order to control and to have these measures in place to enable ESG reporting. So now the question, how does blockchain help in ESG? Is it a winning combination? So I don't have to tell you what the characteristics of a blockchain are. You basically know it, I assume. So immutable ledger, transparency, traceability. Quite fluffy, but how can it basically support ESG? First thing, and this is actually what Sophia was willing to present, is basically the disintermediation of certification authorities. So usually what you have for ESG, you have an auditor that says your company has a certain rating, and you have to trust the auditor. With blockchain, with standards like self-sovereign identities, decentralized identifier, verifiable credential, which I will touch upon later, you can basically disintermediate these certification authorities. And you basically have a machine-readable document that you can trust and independently verify. You can use this for supply chain tracking. For example, measuring the scope 3 emissions. Therefore, you need to know what are your suppliers doing. You want to know maybe the ESG certification of your tier 1, tier 2 suppliers, and you can use this technology to track it. Monitoring of CO2 emissions, quickly a jump to the energy sector. So IoT devices, it was touched upon before, can basically bring very valuable information that you can put on-chain and that you can use to track CO2 emissions and also the production of renewable energy. And then you have the voluntary carbon market, which also evolved out of blockchain, or is basically supporting its liquidity through blockchain. And yeah, it allows a scalable and a trustable voluntary carbon market. So this is basically where I see a benefit of blockchain on ESG. Next, what are we actually doing at NRverse? I will start with a quick question. So we did an assessment of the CO2 emission of the CAC, so of this conference. And I want to ask the audience, what do you think how much CO2 has been emitted? You can just shout it out. Any guess? 5 tons? 20? Anyone more? 50? Okay. 100, okay, I think we're getting closer. So it's of course linked to some assumptions. 5 tons was actually quite good. So the direct emissions of the company, so really what is not caused by participants that are traveling, is around 7 tons. And the big part, it's based on estimations, is traveling and accommodation. So then we come around 19 tons probably. And this is our core business. So what we do is we assess, we report and offset, and we engage with visitors of conferences. So we have a tool that allows scope 1 to 3 assessment. It's easy to use. You can include your suppliers, and you can apply it to any virtual or hybrid conference, also for metaverse conferences, which we did last year. And it allows you to report. So you basically have a tool that you can trust. You have full transparency on all dimensions, and you can use blockchain to offset your emissions and to cover your energy supply with renewable energy. Last but not least, we have an end customer engagement tool, which is an app where you as an event visitor can collect an NFT, and that NFT has a payload, and this payload is a sustainability claim. So you can offset your travel emissions. We offset it for you, and in return you get an NFT which has a payload, and to this NFT you can link benefits, perks, whatever the conference or the event wants to add to it.
So Kai, let me just jump in, because I have to evaluate it in the end exactly. So the presentation before was about how to use carbon credit to finance a project which maybe is issuing carbon credits, but here it's a little bit different. So let's say I'm like a company like Lufthansa, and I have lots of employees who want to do some events. I have maybe 5,000 employees who do per year, each of them 5 events, and I have set for my company goal to be net zero maybe this year, and I want to use your service. So as I understand, I can come to you and ask you to first assess the greenhouse gases or the carbon the carbon exposure we have, and then you do the next steps, also the next 2 steps. You're gonna provide me a solution to become net zero, and then to redeem the offsettings, and then to get in the end an NFT, which is, as I understand it, a receipt.
Exactly. Right? So it's not only carbon offsets that we do, it's one part of it, but we basically create a verifiable receipt. That's basically summarizing it very well, where we put in this receipt you have renewable energy certificates and carbon offsets. And with these 2 elements, we can basically do the best for now in order to make an event green. And we heard about it in the last panel, is that our clients are asking for the origin of carbon offsets. So we cannot come and say, this is a pooled carbon, and we have no idea what underlying project is behind. This is not working. So they're asking for a chain of trust in order to say, am I actually getting carbon offsets or services from this specific project? And this is what we are basically enabling by using Web3 technology.
Okay, and the first part I think is very important. You're assessing the carbon which each of us during an event or for an event lifecycle is emitting. Yeah, that's your first part of what you do. And I think it's very interesting, because if you now book your flight, you can see how much carbon is exposed. But for the whole event, I think there's much more you need to do. And I think companies like Lufthansa or some other big German companies who have their goals to be ESG compliant and being net zero, it's something very interesting.
We also look into football games, for example. So larger football associations that not only want to cover the emissions of the game, but also from the participants that join the game. And if you want to create a 360 view of the carbon footprint, you need to integrate visitors. And if they go through this process, we can basically have a 360 view of all emissions, which makes it quite attractive. And you can put on top of it a utility that you link to this to the NFT. Cool. Very quickly, so our platform creates this 360 view that I just mentioned on the carbon footprint of an event. It is an easy process, so you don't need to be a life cycle assessment expert to go through it, so even event managers can do it. We offer support, but it's basically a drag and drop solution. We have a database of CO2 emission factors that we link to it, and we can also integrate suppliers. So if you have this venue, for example, that wants to provide some information on how energy is produced, how they produce the cool air or the heating, they can be onboarded into this platform, provide their information, and this makes it, this 360 view. We also do reporting, so you can share the results. It's fully trustable, it's traceable, and as I said, everything that cannot be reduced can be offsetted. And there we have our NFT product that can be linked to it. You have eventually seen this roll-up, so if you have not done it yet, I really welcome you to scan the QR code. You also find some flyers out there, and to fill out the form, we have a small questionnaire because we want to better understand the travel behavior in order to improve also our CO2 assessment. In the future, if you scan this QR code, you will be able to offset your travel emissions, and this contributes to this 360 view of the conference, and also at a later step will allow the event organizer to engage with you through this NF ticket. Okay, so time to dive into a bit more technical content.
Before you dive into technical content, so I just want to elaborate a little bit how it usually would work, because some of you may wonder, why would someone do this on a voluntary basis? I mean, as some of you don't know or may know, there are companies like Lufthansa, they are obligated to reduce their footprint. They have to do it. They can go to the market, to the regulated certificate market and buy some emission certificates, but they can also go to the voluntary market. This is what we talk about, and get there the carbon credits. And this carbon credit market, especially the voluntary carbon credit market, is something where you have many intermediaries. So we just talked before that about it, like how much do you pay for 1 ton of carbon credit? And you told me it's something, I don't know, maybe between $20 and $50. I heard from others, it depends. If you go to the project developer, you maybe just pay $3 per ton. Yeah, and this is something very interesting on the one side. But what you need, I think, to understand here is you may have someone who's doing it on a voluntary basis to get, in the end, to do the redemption, to get a certificate, the receipt that someone did this redemption, the offsetting, and then did this redemption. Some may need to show it to authorities that they did it. So they're both, I think, both markets who are interested to get something like this. And I think what is here very interesting, that you have the full life cycle. You have the assessment in the beginning, you have the carbon credits which are already offsetted, which you can acquire, and then you can redeem it and to show to the others that you reduced your footprint.
Exactly, and it's, yeah, as I mentioned already, it's not only limited to carbon credits, but we can create this receipt for anything, and it's end-to-end verifiable. And this is what I want to explain quickly. So we have a set of suppliers of green products. So these are carbon credits, these are renewable energy certificates, or it's other NGOs that are investing or supporting ESG in general. What we do is to give them a unique identifier. So if we purchase some of these green products, for example, carbon credits or renewable energy certificates, we basically ask the supplier to create a decentralized identifier. So this is a unique code which is linked to the supplier. And with this identifier, it's signing the transaction. So it's a proof that they basically sold these products to us. Why do we need this? We need it because this is then filling a smart contract. So at the end, we have a pool of smart contracts with different green products. And in order to trust the balance of the smart contract, you need this receipt. And this is basically what happened before. So signing a transaction, having this receipt, feeding a smart contract. And now we basically can use all these different elements, the portfolio that we have of green products, and put this into one receipt. And this is what we call an NF ticket, where we can compose, fractionalize, and basically create any composition of our green products into one NFT, sell this to the event, or to the event visitors, as I explained before. So at the end, we have an end-to-end verifiable process where there's basically no need to trust NRverse. So we don't want that we are the certification authority that says, okay, we have now a green stamp here. No, this is basically verifiable end-to-end based on signatures and Web3 technology. Yeah. You can also look these NF tickets. So these are basically NFTs with a payload. The payload is a verifiable credential, so it's a technical term, but it's basically the signed, all the signatures that you need in order to make this supply chain verifiable. You can also see them on OpenSea. It's probably quite difficult to read, but these blue boxes are the different attributes that are linked to the NFT, and they are also in the verifiable credential that is basically linked to it. So yeah, that was a run through our product and through the technology.
Very good, thank you. So the last minute we have, I just take it, the last minute, if I'm allowed. So yeah, thank you, Kai. And as I understand it, you cannot really trade this NFT receipt. You just get it, you redeem it, you show it to the others. You can maybe get some perks later, but it's not tradable. Therefore, if you look at the news publication of BaFin, as a gentleman from BaFin just left the room, so I'm allowed to talk about BaFin now. So you can check out the BaFin webpage and the news publication on NFTs. So you can see that NFTs are usually not regulated, especially not this kind of NFTs, because you cannot trade them, and there's no purpose for investing in it, because you do not have a concept here for investing in it. You just can get the certificates which are already offsetted to redeem it, and then to get the receipt, which is an NFT receipt. And if you look onward from the 18th, 19th of April, so a couple of days, then we're going to have the markets and crypto assets regulation, and under the markets and crypto assets regulation, this kind of NFTs, which are like truly non-fungible, are not covered under the MiCA rule because they're non-fungible from a technical point of view, ERC 721, and they're also unique from a typical point of view, and therefore neither covered by German law nor covered by MiCA, and you're good to go.
Very good, it's good to hear. Thank you.
Great, thank you for listening.